Hi everyone, it's Tom here from the WB Trading team, and on today's video I want to cover a topic that I think sometimes traders exclude, or maybe they look for shortcuts, and really I wanted to dispel a few myths about how long potentially this takes and when you can do it. And what we're looking at today is backtesting. So backtesting, a really crucial part for any trader, not just mechanical trading, although as a mechanical trader I find it a really useful tool. We're going to look through an actual manual backtest today. I'm going to do it basically live, kind of as I'm putting together this video, just to show you A, how long it takes, B, the kind of information that's required, and also C, really how to go about a backtest. A lot of traders will ask me, Tom, is the software to do backtesting? There is, but I find it unreliable personally. I like to do a manual backtest. I like to visualize what I'm looking at, check it as well personally. So hopefully you'll be able to see this in today's video. I'm going to put together a simple test. It's from a strategy that a trader has recently suggested to me and asked me to have a look at. So I'm going to go through their rules, basically put it into my backtesting process, and then evaluate the results quickly. And hopefully you'll be able to see how long a rough backtest will take, what's involved, and what are the benefits. So yeah, we'll get started. Just very quickly before we dive in, if you're still struggling with your trading, or you'd like to know more about how mechanical edges are traded, I've put together a free video course for you that will map out and explain everything in detail, along with walking you through exactly how the mechanical rules actually work. If you'd like to watch that after this video, I'll pop a link in the description. You can click through and you can watch that straight away. So here's my basic journal setup for testing any strategy, and I've added a couple of things just based on this particular backtest that I'm going to do. So as a really general layout, these are kind of the main columns that I think you would really need to go through and get an idea of how well a strategy works over a fairly quick backtest. You can always then look to refine it. I would also look to add columns in, test other parameters, but as a basic indication, check these strategy rules. Does it work, or maybe does it need some improvement somewhere? This will suffice. Now, one thing I always like to do, and this is really just to help me when I'm coming back to particular strategies and particular backtests, is have a rules section up here. So write down what we're looking at in terms of this particular backtest. And that's maybe in a case of I don't get through the whole backtest, I want to come back and restart it, maybe later in the week, next weekend. I always want to make sure that I'm following the same rules and I can remember what I'm doing. And also if I go back to a test after a month or so, sometimes I do struggle to remember, what have I particularly put this together for? So it's always helpful to have that in place. And I also have that on my live journals as well. So for my strategies that I trade every day, always good just to have the rules there. I think it's a helpful reminder. So as you can see, I've listed them down. I've left a couple of them blank at the moment. I need to fill them in, but as part of this strategy, I don't want to run through all the rules for you because, as I mentioned a little earlier, it's another trader's strategy. I'm still testing it, but that's what I would do. I would list everything out that I need. And then just as like a quick summary, I've gone through and I've just put in the 2022 date, so I'm going to test the first 2 quarters of the year basically. I'm going to go down all the way to start of July. Just run through. That's enough trades, I think. We're looking at a maximum of 1 trade per day on this strategy. We won't get a trade every day necessarily if the rules don't match up, which is why I've got this entry question mark box here. If it's a no trade day, put a no in there so I can remind myself when I'm going back to have a look. Okay, why didn't we fill in that particular row? So that's what I'm going to use. I'm now going to jump back across to my broker platform, and I'm just going to have these 2 open in tandem. And we're going to go through, find the setups basically every day and put them into the journal. And then after that, we're going to sit down, have a look through, and I can review and see what the performance looks like over those 2 quarters, where, if I've observed anything, we could improve, and yeah, basically where we need to go from there. So I'll jump back over to my broker screen now. So back on IG, I've loaded up the correct market. We're going to be doing this backtest, as I mentioned, on Wall Street. And I just want to check a couple of things before we get started. So I've got my journal open on another screen. It's helpful, obviously, as I know I've mentioned on previous videos, if you have multiple screens, it makes this process a lot easier. But even if you don't, just kind of splitting them up on the same screen is doable as well. Obviously, a few things I want to make sure I'm correct on. We're on the right market. One thing on IG that's always good to watch out for if you're backtesting on a weekend is some markets will default to their weekend market. We want to be on the main market, which will have this little ticket item here because it's closed at the moment. We don't want the live one because it's only really valid on the weekend. So I want to make sure we're on the right market, and we want to make sure we're on the right time frame. Obviously, I'm going to be testing on a 10-minute. This is what the traders recommended to me. So drop that hourly one down to a 10-minute chart. And as we mentioned, we're going to be doing the test on the first 2 quarters of 2022. So I'm going to go back to the start of the year and basically work my way forward from then. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in. I could work backwards, kind of just out of personal preference really that I do it that way. So we'll go on the calendar here, go to date, and skip all the way back through to the 1st of January. And there we go. So now we've got everything here to go through, start our back testing, and as I said, as we go through the chart, we're going to put it into the journal, and at the end of the time then we can go through and we can check our results. So I'm going to get started on this now, and I'll join you again when the journal is complete. So you join me back a few hours later. Got the back test done. Took a little bit of time. Not the trickiest back test I've ever done. Just getting through the data and making sure I'm filling it in correctly. I will need to go back and check just in case there's any errors. I usually like to do that after I've got all the data in there. Just go through, check a sample size, maybe 10% of the trades at random, just to check that everything's correct. But yeah, we've got the basic data in here. So I've hidden kind of obviously the entry points and things, just because, as I said, it's someone else's strategy. Filled out entry yes or no, so you can see down here that we have got a few days where there was no trade. Good to go back and just double check those as well. There's sometimes the areas that I stumble across on a back test where I've maybe filled it in incorrectly. But apart from that, we've got our entry times, we've got our days when we've entered the trades, we've got our data, and then we've got the results here. So it's looking pretty good in terms of the results. It was about what the trader has suggested. I think I'm within about, say, 5% on the total R from what they had. Now, one thing that I always check on a back test is you always end up getting slightly better results on a back test than you do when you're actually trading, and that's usually down to human errors. So what I like to do is take off about 10% of the results. So here at the moment we're on nearly 43R, so I would take off just over 4R to give myself a more accurate total, because there will be small human errors that will creep in, particularly when you're just starting with the strategy. I think it's important just to kind of pay attention to that aspect and remember that backtesting without any pressure is a lot easier than live trading, certainly. But it gives me a good idea of where we're at, and then I can now look at this, take the data kind of apart in more detail and have a look at certain areas, maybe entry times, are there specific entry times that are better, go through those parameters, check if there's any other areas to improve. Probably worth doing a little bit more of a back test as well, maybe go back to the last 2 quarters for 2021 just to check, see if we're in some sort of purple patch in the market for this particular strategy this year. More data is always useful, certainly, but this is a significant amount, so we can at least start to pick through this. And that's basically the essence of what it would take to put together a back test. We need to go through, set our journal up, and in most cases you can use the same kind of journal layout for every back test, change a few parameters around, certainly. Load up the chart, go through. Is a little bit painstaking, I appreciate that. The manual back test is always going to be the best thing though, particularly with strategies where you're really not sure about the rules. Maybe you've noticed something yourself, you want to test it. Always good to do it manually to visually check. You can also notice things as you're going through a back test. I haven't really spotted anything on this particular test, but when I've done back tests in the past, gone through, identified maybe, what if I look at this area, written that down, and then come on to it as a secondary test. After I've done the initial data collection, go back and do a little what if scenario, change a couple of the rules around, see if it's beneficial or not. What we've got here though is looking pretty solid. As I said, it's matching up to what the trader told me they got, or very close to at least. So yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on, but that's the general essence of how we would go about a back test. And there's plenty of places to go after we've got this data, but having the data there and being able to analyze it, it's really, really going to help, certainly, guys. So I'm hoping that's kind of give you a good idea of where we go with a back test and the kind of effort involved to put one together, and timing as well. I think I'm pretty kind of competent and quite quick at doing back tests now. Certainly when I started trading, it took me quite a lot longer, but that's been done in 2 to 3 hours really. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully today's topic gave you an insight into an area of trading that maybe you haven't focused on enough. A lot of traders do miss out on back testing, so this might give you the motivation spend a bit of time either this weekend or sometime in the future. Go through a few back tests, see what you can improve. As always, any questions or comments, just drop them in the chat below or book a call with one of us. If you want to find out how to improve your trading, understand a little bit more about how we trade as mechanical traders, the links are in the description below. Thank you all for watching, guys, though, and I'll see you on the next video.